never ceded. It was never sold or given away to the Crown. The Crown's jurisdiction is just like a virtual jurisdiction. It doesn't attach to the land. All the tribal people still own their land and it's held in trust. So to protect all the other people that live on the land, the reasserting of sovereignty over that land by the tribes then protects everybody, because if tribal land is not subject to the jurisdiction of these corporate thugs that are trying to rule this continent, well, then that leaves it up to the people.
Everyone, so I'm here with Witt-boooka and Diane, who I found this new campaign. Well, it might not be new, sorry, but it's new to me and it's probably new to a lot of people watching. So I'm really glad to talk about this. But it's Save Djaki Kundu now. And look, like I said, I knew nothing about it, and so I would like you to, or one of you, to please explain what you're trying to save and why you're trying to save it and who you're saving it from.
Witt-boooka?
Oh, you can go, Di.
Okay. Well, the sovereign native tribes of the Kabi First Nation are trying to save Djaki Kundu, which is a very important ancient and sacred site, from destruction by the Queensland Department of Transport and Main Roads. And we had been, the tribe of which Witt-boooka is the tribal lawman, have been occupying the site to prevent it from being destroyed since the 25th of January. And on the 15th of October, about 60, maybe more police turned up and dragged, well, I shouldn't say dragged, but forcibly removed people from Djaki Kundu. And then they ended up arresting 6 of us. Only 2 being charged with trespass, and all bail conditions said that none of us could go within 200 metres of the site or we would be rearrested. So basically, Transport and Main Roads tricked the police into removing us from the site so they could breach Kabi human rights and destroy something that is significant not only to Kabi people, but to tribal peoples all over this country.
And they want to put in a highway. Is that what it's all for?
Yes. 4-lane highway, an on-ramp and off-ramp and an access road, which would basically destroy about half of the site. Yeah.
See, the main roads knew back in the late 70s. My elders told them then. And we've had emails acknowledging they knew but way back then. So in 2012, we had meetings with Main Roads again, and I was a representative for one of the Kabi Corporation, native title, and I ended up going into
Transport and Main Roads.
Yeah, but I ended up in 2014. Ended up having a survey done with the archaeologists, Tanya Harding, and archaeologists. And they just ignored everything I said. I said it was a landscape site. So since then, we've been just pushing and pushing. The applicants for native title at that stage, which we were a part of it, we went into the Gympie Main Roads office here. We had a sat down, had a meeting. There was 5 of us, I'm pretty sure. And we told them it was a sacred site, it was a landscape site, and Tanya Harding would just race out of the room and talk to her big bosses and come back and say, no, we can't have this, and then, so we had to get up and leave. So, and this has been carrying on ever since. They just don't want to listen to us.
Is there another way for the road to go? I mean...
Yes, it can go around. All they have to do is move 100 metres on the Gympie to Tinkham Bay Road onto Ascot Road, and then it connects up to Old Gomburium Road and hooks around to Taylor Road, and they're back to where they need to be.
So as in Australia, there are many battles going around and yours is just one of many, but you've been fighting this for a long time. Why do you think they won't just spend the extra money to just go around the site that you care about so much, because of the heritage?
Well, because we're standing up to them. And, once they destroy all our cultural heritage, we have no connection. And so we're a lost people. So, and we don't want that to happen.
Do you think they're just doing it to save money, or do you think they're doing it to be spiteful?
Well, on that side also there's thorium, and thorium's like uranium. And there was a survey done back in 2013, I think it was. And at that time, thorium was worth $5,000 a kilo. They said it'd pay for the road, the whole road. So there's another excuse.
Wow. Diane, did you want to say something about that?
Well, transport and main roads are just one of a number of government organisations that seem to want to destroy everything. As soon as people say something's a sacred site, they're asked to register it with DATSIP. In Queensland, the Department of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Partnerships. But the thing is, DATSIP has not registered any of the sites. They just claim that nothing is Aboriginal cultural heritage. And in Queensland, it's a crime, as it is all over this country, supposedly, for Aboriginal cultural heritage to be destroyed. So the way these departments get around it is saying there is no Aboriginal cultural heritage on a site, because once all what they call Aboriginal cultural heritage is gone, then people have no connection to country, so they can just develop everything holus bolus. There's no mechanism for stopping people from destroying ecosystems and rivers and all the sacred sites. It's just horrendous, and everyone was up in arms about what happened to Juukan Gorge, the Jabwarang trees. A large number of Australians are against what the Queensland government is trying to do on Wongan and Jagalingou country, which would threaten the Great Barrier Reef as well. But no one's doing anything to stop it. There's lots of talk about native title regulations being unhelpful, but they seem to be set up to favour development and government progress rather than to protect what they were supposedly set up to protect. But they especially don't like tribal peoples who are standing up for their rights and fighting for sovereignty over their land. And Kabi people have been doing that now officially since 2015. So it's it's very difficult.
The government just is trying to, I think, demoralise so many of us in every area of Australia.
That's right.
Every culture, every aspect. So this is just like another layer that we need to fight. You were telling me, Witt-boooka, at the beginning, that there's a regional sovereign tribal federation. I think. Yeah,
original sovereign tribal federation. See, they've been going since 2012, I think, and we have a treaty with them, and they have a treaty with over 250 tribes around Australia. So Lumper, David Cole, he's pushing that, and so is Gunnumbaddy Jackamurra, and to convince everybody that they need to go back to the Commonwealth Constitution 1900, because it's the best constitution you'll ever get, because it's got all your rights.
Yeah, we don't have any rights, and that has been proven in New South Wales with that recent court case. The judge literally said, we don't have a Bill of Rights, so bad luck. You have to get vaccinated or whatever it is that they tell us to do. We basically have no rights, and showing in your story as well.
We'll see there. Queensland does. Queensland's got the Imperial Acts Application Acts 1984, which brought the Bill of Rights, the Magna Carta, and the habeas corpus into their corporate world. So we have the Bill of Rights and everything, the Magna Carta. So it's all in their system, but they keep ignoring it.
And they're getting away with it. So what is next for this fight, and what can, people who don't know anything about it, how can they help? Can they join your Facebook pages, your websites? What's the best way for people to help?
Well, we have a Kabi.dreaming Facebook page. If people go to there, and they can look through the posts that we've made and the photographs and see what has happened in the past and what we're planning to do. Witt-boooka has actually called for tribal representatives all over the country to come and stand with us with non-tribal people in the spirit of the Widjung, that's black fellas and white fellas and every colour fella, joining together for the betterment of everyone, to protect this country and protect people's tribal rights and protect the rights of all people on the country, no matter what race they or what religion they belong to.
Absolutely. If we lose the culture that's there, you know, what's left of Australia? You know, we need to keep our history. It's a proven mechanism of demoralizing people, to erase their history, erase their culture and all that. So we totally stand by you. Now, is there anything else that you would like to say, Witt-boooka, about, you know, how it feels to have the government, you know, stomping on your rights like this, your family's land, your tribe's land?
Well, all we want to be is free and go back to, well, we were living there as if we were living there thousands and thousands of years. We had gardens, we planted bunya trees, our sacred trees. You know, people don't understand the bunya tree is the sacredest tree out. It was around when the dinosaurs, and the Queen Victoria made the Bunya Proclamation, or the bunya. So no one was allowed to come into Kabi Bunya Daja or Kabi Bunya country where the bunya trees grow. So this was in 1842, 18 years before Queensland became Queensland.
Yeah.
And when Queensland became Queensland, they had to follow all the other laws and acts from the other states. So they couldn't do nothing. They couldn't repeal it. So we have all the laws going back from the Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, the Act of Settlement 1700, where they weren't allowed to export their sovereignty outside of England, Wales or Ireland. So we have so many laws that just show they're unlawfully doing what they're doing.
What's the time frame here? Let's say nothing happens. You know, when are they going to start construction?
They've already started. They've demolished the bunya forest that had not only bunya trees but also bulbul nut trees and lots of other natives and lots of bush food there. We don't know how far they've gone. We should be able to find out tomorrow, but it sounds like they've destroyed an awful lot of the surface of the area, and that is sacred walls, lots of engraved stones. There would be multitude of artifacts, because we've been doing some ground penetrating radar studies and had a paleontologist supervising with us. We found lots of artifacts and lots of underground artifacts that needed exploration. And we feel that people were watching what we were doing, and we were getting close to being able to prove that they had no reason to come into the site, or they were prohibited from coming in. And before we could finish that report, TMR persuaded the police to come in and take us off. So, it appears that there's corruption involved. Of course, corruption is extremely hard to prove because no one's held accountable in this system. But we've been there for 9 months. The police had stated to us that they had no intention of coming in and removing us until there was a court order that showed that the land actually did not belong to Kabi people, but the CEO of Transport and Main Roads C2C team actually made an affidavit to police claiming that he had peaceable possession over the land, which obviously he didn't. And that they used that to remove us and start destroying things. We're still hopeful that we can have legal action very shortly to prevent them from doing any more damage, but time's running out.
Well, where there's money, there's definitely corruption, unfortunately. I want to ask a question that could be a sticky one, but I feel like my audience would really want to know the answer to this question. Australia Day here in Melbourne, just so you know, it was there was a protest, like a kind of like a protest, but in support of the Aboriginal people actually, and it was massive, like probably 10,000, 20,000 people, I'm not sure, but do you feel like you're being supported by the same people that are marching for your rights? Do you feel supported in this fight right now by those same people?
We're supported by a lot of people, but a lot of people don't see our media, on Facebook or anything like that. So it's only a minor amount of people. Mm-hmm. So it needs to go right out to the wide community, really. Mm. So On Australia Day, we celebrate, well, not on Australia, it goes for 9 months. We celebrate the Widjung gatherings. So every year since time immemorial, we've been celebrating that at that time of the year.
Yeah. Well, that's a good answer. Hopefully more of these people will hear this and there can be just some more action. I know there's some great advocacy groups out there for things like this. So I just hope that they pick it up and actually help you. It would be so great. You know, one last question is, you know, has your community been affected at all by COVID and the lockdowns? And do you have anything to say about that, either of you?
Well, funnily enough, Anastasia Palaszczuk, I was told, announced this morning that a truck driver from Gympie has caught COVID. It seems very timely that all of a sudden they're talking about restrictions around Gympie. We haven't had anything drastic here before because there appears to be no COVID in the community. In fact, police have said to us, yes, we don't worry about that shit. There's none of it here.
Lucky you. I'm in Victoria, so that's good. But it does seem maybe, you know, sometimes, not all the time, but COVID can be used as a bit of a political weapon.
It seems that way. Because
then the police have more ability to force you out or away from somewhere under the guise of health, you know, so that's a bit of, you know, a lot of protesters have obviously been arrested and things like that. So how did it feel? Diane, you were there when you were arrested and you've got bail conditions. Is that what you said?
Yes, well, I wasn't arrested at the same time as Witt-boooka. I was on my way into town and they were carting Witt-boooka away. So as one of the guardians of the site, I told the police that it was my tribal obligation to go in there and make sure they didn't destroy anything. So police arrested me while I was trying to enter onto the site. Yeah, it was pretty awful. I know Witt-boooka, there's videos showing how he was telling the police that they're breaking the laws. I did the same thing. I have to say the police didn't manhandle me, but they broke the laws by arresting us in the first place because Kabi people were engaged in religious and spiritual practice. And the Constitution says that in section 116, they can't make laws to prevent the free exercise of anyone's spiritual and religious practice. So, but if you get into a courtroom and you mention the Constitution, immediately they say, don't bring that rubbish into my court. I mean, where is the Constitution? And we all know that these corporate organisations are making rules that subvert the Constitution. They're taking away everybody's rights in a manner that they took away the rights of the first peoples when they first came here. So it's, you know, pretty confronting to everybody now.
Well, I think, you know, your fight is our fight and our fight is your fight. And,
yes,
you know, from all different angles, we'll just do our best. If we had human rights, Melbourne wouldn't have been locked down for so long, and you guys would be living where you want to live, where you have the right to live.
Monica, in 1842, Queen Victoria ordered them to write up the Widjung proclamation. So they did that. And in that it says that no one was to come north, I'll put it in just English today, no one was to come north of Brisbane where the Widjung trees grow. No one was to get licences to cut trees down, and anyone found in this area to be dragged out by the Crown Commissioner and the Colonial Commissioner. So anything they've done, it's never been repealed, so anything they've done since then is unlawful. Also in the Pacific Islander Protection Act in 1875, it says there, section 7, saving the rights of the tribes, it says there that Queen had no sovereignty or dominion over the land, and neither will her heirs or successors. Now that clearly states they still didn't own any of the land or they didn't have sovereignty. But then you go on to 1893, the Pacific Order. It says the exact same thing in section 7. That's why we weren't put in the Commonwealth Constitution 1900, where it says there, section 5126, they weren't allowed to make laws for the Aboriginal race. And section 127, you weren't allowed to count us. So in 1970, Queen Elizabeth knew she didn't have no dominion or sovereignty over the land, so she wrote up the decolonise the Commonwealth. So everyone had to decolonise Australia in 1970. And these politicians, they got smart, so they decided to make this private corporation, the Australian government, without a referendum, So they're unlawful or whatever they're doing.
And they get away with it because we don't have the money to fight them, and because
That's,
all the judges are paid by them. So
that's right.
But there is hope. There is definitely, I believe there is a judge just waiting for a chance to make history.
Well, we think that we have the mechanism for that, because the fact that the tribal land was never ceded, it was never sold or given away to the Crown. The Crown's jurisdiction is just like a virtual jurisdiction. It doesn't attach to the land. All the tribal people still own their land and it's held in trust. So to protect all the other people that live on the land, the reasserting of sovereignty over that land by the tribes then protects everybody, because if tribal land is not subject to the jurisdiction of these corporate thugs that are trying to rule this continent, well, then that leaves it up to the people. So the Widjung joining people together to fight for everyone's rights, to work in the best interest of everyone. If everyone joins together in this fight for tribal peoples to regain the power over their land, then that frees everybody.
That's right. Wow, that is beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, do you guys have anything else to say? Because I think you've really explained it well. Do you have anything else to say before we finish up?
Yeah, I'd just like to let you know that OSTF, it's probably good to go onto their website and have a look and see what videos they're making out, because everyone will just agree with it. We all need to work together. So,
I absolutely agree with that. And I will definitely invite you to some events soon that are all about working together. So we're connected now, aren't we? Diane, anything else you'd like to say to people listening?
Well, we just would like to thank everyone for supporting us, for standing up for tribal rights, but everyone who's supporting people like you and the actions that you've engaged in. I've had a number of phone calls about you today recommending to make contact with you because you're so amazing. And everyone is really, really happy to see that you have been so staunch in standing up for your rights. If more people would stand up for their rights and join together, it would make our jobs, that's Kabi jobs, your jobs, and the other people who are standing up much easier, because there's more of us than there are of them.
Amazing. RDA has a brand new campaign coming out very, very soon. It's called Together We Can. And it's all about exactly what you just said. And we hold weekly Zoom meetings with leaders of groups and we talk about how we can help each other. So I'll invite you guys to that. Thank you so much. And we will touch base with you soon to see how it's going.
thanks for being so strong.
Thank you very much.